Welcome back for video number 5. As we're transitioning these videos from the offensive side of the baseball player, we're going to get more into the defensive side of things. So, first, we need to understand the actual configuration of a baseball diamond. It should go without saying, if you're playing baseball, you should at least know the basics as far as which base is located where and which portion of the baseball field you will be playing in. Now, in this video, we'll be covering each one of the bases, the location, the responsibilities, so on and so forth. We're also going to get into the talent level of each player that plays those positions. So if your player, your younger youth individual, has a knack towards a certain type of challenge, what base are they actually going to, or what position within a baseball diamond are they actually going to accelerate at, so on and so forth, and the equipment within leading or within following videos that are needed to play these positions. In video number 6, just a real quick one, we're going to go into throwing distances because in previous videos talking about the offensive side, we covered the ball construction, baseball bat, the average numbers that AI has provided of a standard or an average across the industry. When it comes to the position of the players on the field, their ability and their throwing the distance will come into play. So that will do it in video number 6. For video number 5, first we have to identify the age groups and how many players are actually going to be on the field. Now, at younger ages of 4 to say even 8U, there can be more players on the field than the higher levels of play. Sometimes if they have 15 players that might join the team, they have rules where all of the players actually have to play on the field at the same time. So your typical 9-position field is going to be filled with all 15 players. Some of the leagues will put those additional players in the outfield. Okay, just keep that in mind. And each one of the diamonds is going to be constructed in a different way. Going back, that these numbers are averages provided by AI following the direction and practices established within Little League. Okay, so again, if you're in travel ball or recreational ball, the construction or the size of your baseball fields may not follow the average numbers provided by AI. These are identified practices with Major League Baseball's Little League division. Now, if we identify at least the positions on a typical baseball field, there are 9. Starting with the outfield, left field, center, and right field because of their positions within the diamond. Now, if your player is very good at catching the ball, that is a prime position for them to play. But depending on their physique and their running capabilities and their throwing capabilities, they may not be good within that position. Their hand and eye coordination and their fear will also take into play. Depending on the maturity of the player, fear does come in a factor. When you're switching from the softer T-ball and moving into the older age groups and the ball becomes more harder, it's just natural reaction that players start to form a fear of getting hit with the ball. Okay, so take that into account. It is something that you can train for. Get them used to it to the point where that fear no longer exists. But realize the final goal through all of these videos is to either coach or identify your player, the positions they're natural at, and transform them into the most rounded athlete that they possibly can. Because as the old saying goes, a baseball player is not specific to a position. A baseball player can play them all. So whether you're trying to be a pitcher or a first baseman, a catcher, or an outstanding hitter, you need to be able to understand the entire fundamentals of the game and be able to do them all. Some individuals, obviously their physique or their talent restrict them to a certain area of the field. And if that's the case, concentrate on being the best that you possibly can within your talent or your physique. Now, obviously, there are 4 bases located on a baseball field: home base, first base, second, third, and there's also the pitching mound, which is also a base, but it's called the pitching mound. The pitching mound is to put the ball into play. The pitcher is starting the play. So instead of that being a goal for the offense to get to, that is not considered a plate within the offensive play. That is a defensive position, no different than the left, center, or right field. Now, within the diamond of the bases, there are more than just 4 positions. Depending on the age level that you are also playing at, like I had mentioned before, if a team starts out with 15 players, they may have regulations where all players have to be on the field at the same time. Typically, they will add 1 to 2 players to the infield, and the rest go to the outfield. So there's a possibility they have more than the 9 positions being filled by players. Again, that's going to be very specific to the organization that you're joining or playing in. Realize that Little League, according to their numbers and their practices, they only identify the original 9 established within the history of baseball. Now, the original 9, in common practice, both from the Major League Baseball pros all the way down through the younger ages, are going to include the 4 basemen plus a shortstop. So if you count them, left field, center, right field, third base, shortstop, second, first base, and catcher, you have 9. With a pitcher. Okay, those are your defensive player positions. At younger levels, like T-ball, 7U, and 8U play that may require more players on the field, that is what you can have. In some circumstances where it's either a machine or coach pitch, they will actually position a player next to them as a pitcher position. Some of the leagues, will, because it's either a coach pitch or a machine pitch, they will not even utilize a catcher because the ball delivery is not going fast enough to where it needs to be retained by a defensive player within the catcher position. They let the ball go past them. Either a parent or a designated person will pick it up to return the ball. The moment the ball hits the ground, the ball is out of play if it wasn't hit by the batter. That is something practiced at the lower levels, whether it be T-ball. If it's hit off the tee, obviously it's not being delivered. But coach pitch or machine delivery levels of play, once the ball hits the ground, it is a dead ball. It is not in play anymore. Traditionally, in baseball, even though there's 4 bases, second base is shared with the shortstop position. It is not directly on the base. Okay, easy enough. Now, individuals that would like to play those positions need to realize and understand the fundamentals that are associated with those positions. Once the ball goes past them, there's also additional responsibilities from every player on the field. This goes into the fundamentals of the game of baseball. Players never stop being in the defense, even if the ball is not in their area. So let's say that the ball is hit to left field. Every single player within the baseball field has a responsibility. Period. They're never standing still. So let's say the ball is hit into left field. First baseman is immediately backing up and putting his foot on first base, waiting to retrieve the throw. Every other player is there to back them up. Your right field player is going to be running down to assist and back up the first baseman. The second baseman is going to be going to his main responsibility of being at second base. The shortstop is going to immediately become a cutoff man. Now the pitcher will also be moving, because he's not standing in his own position. He's going to be standing behind third base to support them in case the runner advances from first base or to a consecutive base. Home baseman, again, will be moving forward to back up either one of those positions. So if the shortstop is being a cutoff man, the pitcher is automatically going to move over to third or is going to back up the shortstop. The catcher is going to move up into either one of those positions to reinforce them or support them. So even if you are training or practicing for one specific location within the baseball diamond, realize that as a roundabout ball player, you need to be able to play all those positions, because within the play of ball, you need to be able to fill those positions. So even if you can't rifle the ball from 150 to 300 feet away from the outfield fence, realize that you're going to have to be able to fill those positions or at least get the ball to your cutoff man. Depending on what age group you live at, if you are on the warning track or at the outfield fence, say in that 150 to 200 feet for your 6, 7, and 8U play, you're going to be able to need to throw it into your cutoff man. Whether the cutoff man is staying in the infield dirt or stepping into the grass. So as diamond dimensions increase, your responsibility to be able to throw the ball further becomes more important. So look for that in the throwing distance video number 6. We will save the actual pitching responsibility and the catcher's responsibility for videos all by themselves, because their job responsibilities and their talent levels are extremely elevated from the rest of the players on the field. Not to say that they're not important, but they're going to be more of a higher concentration of what they're responsible for within those positions. So if your player's training to become a catcher, they need to know all of the positions. Okay? The pitcher is mainly going to be concentrating on the ball delivery to bring the ball into play. Totally different responsibilities, but once the ball is in play, it is, if it's hit, or if there is a player on base trying to steal, so on and so forth, every player has to be able to know the fundamentals of the game and fill a position of wherever they're needed. Now, we know the positions. I believe everybody that's interested in the game of baseball, they understand the positions. The fundamentals can be learned as they're being coached throughout the games. As a parent, you may have an understanding of watching ball. If you've never played ball yourself, but you have sat, and watched your favorite Major League Baseball team, or even your, student playing t-ball, so on and so forth, you have a general idea and understanding of how the game plays and how the fundamentals, how you're supposed to advance on the bases, so on and so forth. But coaches with experience that get into the actual detail of accelerated or advanced baseball, they know a lot more than you do. Okay, let's get that very straight. A coach at the high school level knows a lot more than a coach that is going to be practicing at the 8 level unless they have prior experience in advanced baseball. Parents, please be realistic and humbled once again. It is better to work with your coaches than to have your own ideal of how your player should be going, because I'm sure that the coaches have more experience, for one, and they're going to know the fundamentals with advanced play to be able to coach your players step by step to reach that point. You will also be learning along with your players. Okay? I see time and time again, whether it's on social media or actually in person at the games, the parents are constantly yelling through the fence. Folks, it's hard enough both for the coaches and the umpiring staff to basically manage the game and make sure that it stays fair and everything is following the rules, than to have parents with their own ideas and beliefs being yelled at through the fence. Okay? Just take the experience in, pay attention to your player, cheer them on, and realize they are only one player on the entire team. So not only is the positions on the field of the baseball diamond, one of those other positions is within coaches and the umpiring staff. At the lower age groups, say T-ball, your volunteer parents, they're not obviously getting paid. They may not know the entire fundamentals, and they're trying to manage a horde of kids within your rec ball to be able to understand and have fun playing the game. They may not have the experience of playing elite ball. Easy enough. They're volunteers. Jump in and help out. Do not criticize. Once you start getting into more competitive ball, say in that 7 to 9U old or 9U transition, folks, again, your player is part of a team. And one thing that we can all agree on is that raising our youth takes a village. So if you do not necessarily agree with what the coaches or umpires are doing, please ask yourself first what you can do to help. Don't jump to criticize. Because once again, most of them are volunteers. Even at the lower level, some of the umpires are not being paid and they're also volunteers. But they should have at least an understanding of the game to be able to control the game. Because once again, folks, I don't care what division you're in or what age group. That is the intent of the umpires, is to call the fairest game that they possibly can within the rules designated for that age group. They're human. They make mistakes. Okay? Baseball is an ever-evolving sport. And sometimes the rules change, some of the practices, and even over a 9-inning or even a 6-inning tournament game, the umpires also get thirsty. They get hot. They might be overwhelmed with multiple games during the weekend. Show them some grace. It will pay off in the long run. Now, within the equipment, obviously, every position on the baseball field, when it comes to the defensive side, the equipment is going to be specific to their position. But once again, as a ball player, you need to be well-rounded to be able to step in and play any of those positions at a moment's notice. So this is where things start to get really expensive. We talked about the baseball bats between Wood, USA, USSSA, BB-Core. Wooden baseball bats can be purchased for a reasonable price. Once you start getting into alloys or composite bats, the prices grow substantially. Now, typically, advanced players will actually have baseball bats intended for practices, and they will save their more expensive bats for the actual game. That doesn't end there. Once you start getting into baseball gloves specific for a position, if you're just getting into the lower levels, a baseball glove is a baseball glove. Okay, the quality of the baseball glove is not going to necessarily increase the performance of your player. But once you start getting into those transition years of 7, 8, and 9-year-old play, things start to be more competitive. They start to become more serious, and your equipment needs to match the talent level. So again, videos 1 through 4. Covering the age groups, the expectations provided, and numbers provided by AI. Those are average numbers that your players should be able to achieve if they wish to continue at a competitive level, have the most fun. Because once again, folks, baseball is intended to be fun at no matter what level you're playing. But the fun comes through the competitiveness. Okay? Maybe not for T-ball. They're just there to get exercise. Okay? Have fun, be in the outdoors. But once you start getting even into the 8U, competitiveness makes its way into the ball no matter what level or organization you're playing for, whether it be recreational, travel ball, or Little League. You can't avoid it. The best thing you can do is to adapt to it and learn to have fun through the experience. If you have a bad day, you have a bad day. Okay? Move on. Nobody remembers the worst game as a 7, 8, or 9-year-old player. Nobody does. It doesn't matter. It's only an evolution within experience and learning and maturing as a baseball player. Once you start getting into competitive levels, 8, 9, 10, and even higher than that, learning what position you fit the best within your physique and your talent level is going to be up to the coaches to first identify. So even at home, if you're striving to play one position, realize everybody else is working off that exact same wish. Okay, uh, everybody wants to be a first baseman or everybody wants to be a catcher. Realize talent levels are going to change, and even though you may not be picked for that position, whatever position you are picked for by your coaches, make sure that you're giving it 100% to the responsibility of that position. And that includes the type of equipment that you are buying. The younger ages, you can use more generalized baseball gloves and cleat designs. Okay, once you start becoming catchers, then your catcher's gear gets thrown into things. What kind of gear works the best for you in that position? As a pitcher, okay, your equipment is basically your right arm and your glove. Okay, what are you doing to make sure that you are performing at the highest level that you possibly can, the most consistency, without doing harm to yourself? A catcher gets to, gear up with all the padded equipment to protect himself. Okay, but it doesn't stop there. Even your body can break down. Don't overdo it. There's many regulations in higher age groups to the point where there's pitching restrictions. Catchers, make sure you're taking care of your knees. Okay? Every player has to be pushing themselves to the extreme in order to play the game of baseball. Be honest with yourself and make sure that you're not taking it past your capabilities. Take breaks. Hydrate. Always hydrate no matter what time of the year it is. Prepare for the game. Don't be sloppy. Okay, tie your shoes, tie your cleats. Make sure you're picking the right type of cleat for the structure that you're playing on, whether it be an AstroTurf or a natural baseball diamond. If the baseball diamond is a mix within the infield of being dirt and grass, that's all going to dictate the type of cleat that you're wearing. If you have weak heels, they do have ankle enforcement cleats. Typically, they are a version of football cleats with a cleat design for baseball. Realize your capabilities and get the equipment that will improve on you. Don't buy the equipment that's being promoted by some YouTube content creator or what's being advertised as being the best. Once again, get the equipment that matches your performance level or exceeding it by 1 year of play. You can't necessarily get a baseball glove intended for 10U play for an 8U player. They might not even play that position. And there are different baseball gloves intended for outfielders. There's different baseball gloves intended for first basemen. There's different baseball gloves for infielders. And there's obviously a different baseball glove for catchers. Until you start to get narrowed down by either your coaches or your talent capabilities, keep it generalized. Do not spend too much. Don't even bother buying brand new equipment. Use resale locations to get your equipment, whether it's baseball bats, gloves, cleats, anything that you can buy used that is good enough for you to play. Get that and keep your costs down. Once you start getting into higher levels of play, the travel time, the snacks, concession prices, wishing for Christmas for that brand new baseball bat, those prices add up fairly quickly, and that will cause your interest to actually go down within the game. Especially because, again, as a village, parents, coaches, we're part of the village. And if you can't afford the equipment, it's going to put a strain between the entire village and the players. Okay? But it doesn't have to be very expensive. And that's something that the coaches should take in accountability. Is the league that they're coaching for, are they providing the equipment? Here's to close the video out with this, here's a piece of advice as a coach that I can pass on to parents or other coaches. At no matter what level of coaching or as a parent, practice seasons should be extended, not necessarily to go to an indoor facility or to the baseball diamond for practice. Every baseball season should start with classroom. Learning the history of baseball, why the rules are actually there, and the equipment and equipment maintenance. Coaches should know every piece of equipment that's used in a baseball game and be able to give you advice how to maintain them, choose the proper equipment to fit your capabilities, and also pass on the knowledge of history of baseball onto the players way before they ever pick up a baseball bat, throw a ball, or run between the bases. There should be at least 4 weeks, yes, 4 weeks of practice just covering the history of baseball to understand what it's intended for, the goal, the All-Stars and Hall of Famers that have come before us, the rules that have been put in place because of injuries, and the equipment changes from the beginning of baseball as we know it here in the United States to current times. For example, realize that in the 1800s, baseball players did not wear a glove. They caught the ball with their bare hands. The evolution of the baseball glove has continually improved over the last 125 years. So again, with younger individuals, even your 18U high school player, make sure that you have at least 4 years of training and practice, including the history and the equipment specific to their age level. Once you start getting into your high school kids, their concerns as far as college, what they're going to do, scouting, all of that should be something that the coaches at that level are able to share with the players before the season even starts. So with video number 5, the positions, talent level, be honest with yourself and what you're interested in. Realize that every ball player has to be able to play every position, including pitcher and catcher. The equipment that matches it, how to maintain it. Be realistic with your capabilities and the price of the equipment. Okay. Realize that there's more than 9 positions because your coaches and the umpires are also positions. They're also part of the game. Parents, you're also positions within baseball. Because what happens at home is transferred onto the field or vice versa. Utilize baseball for what it offers. With that, we'll see you back for video number 6, the expected and average numbers for throwing of each individual position for their age level. Have a good one.